Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 4 of Paris-Nice. 167 kilometers, about 105 miles, just a little bit under in total length, 6 categories climbs. But it's the last climb of the day. It's a category 1, 6.7 kilometers at over 7%. And when we're talking over 7%, that means you're climbing at 7 and 10% sections throughout the last climb that's going to summit and finish today, stage 4. We back to film up. We go into yesterday's individual time trial. This Melissa bike dominantly won the time trial. Jonas Vingegaard's talking about how he's a selfless team player all the way. He said before he came into Paris-Nice, he'd like to win over here because he hasn't won here. Jorgensen is saying that he'd like to win here too before the race started and, of course, after the individual time trial. But neither rider is telling you exactly who is the team leader. Now, you don't have to have a team leader. I rode with Saturn. I rode with Mercury back in the day domestically when we dominated the U.S. field. And multiple times I had to go into races as co-leaders. With Saturn, Tom Danielson, Nathan O'Neill, and myself, I told those guys at the beginning of the year, we went into the first few races, I go, guys, we have to share races. We have to share victories, otherwise we'll be fighting each other left and right. And it doesn't make any sense to have that kind of tension amongst players. So we shared victories. We helped Danielson win down at the Tour of Langkawi. I got the Redlands Classic. Danielson took some of the early stage races in the Tour of California, at the early spring races, and Nathan O'Neill got Sea Otter. We shared throughout the season. It was that way all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. If you say we're co-leaders, if you say we'll work together for what's best for the team as long as we win, there's nothing wrong. But when you say I'm going to help the team win, or I'm not a selfish rider, I'm going to pay back my teammates or something like that, all of a sudden now you've created some drama. I had some comments after yesterday's time trial stage where I said there's going to be drama in today's stage, and so many people left me ridiculous comments saying there's not going to be any drama. Jonas Vingegaard's a team player. I haven't seen Jonas Vingegaard as a team player since the 22 season when he helped Primož Roglič win Dauphiné. At that moment, though, he was not the winner that he is. Now, we go fast forward into the Tour de France. I have seen Jonas Vingegaard give up an individual time stage victory to Wout van Aert on the last stages of those 22 Tour de France when he went almost off the road and lost the Tour de France to Tadej Pogačar when he almost crashed himself into the side of the mountain. And then he came up the hill there, backed off the throttle, and gave a stage win to Wout van Aert. Besides that stage win, individual time trial that he backed off the throttle at the Tour de France, I have never seen Jonas Vingegaard ride for his teammates. I've seen him attack Sepp Kuss throughout the 23 Vuelta a España. I've seen him complain, he must have, I didn't see it, but he must have complained about getting rid of Primož Roglič, who was Melissa Bike's team leader. Now, of course, he's over there at Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. So I haven't seen any selfless riding from Jonas Vingegaard throughout the last 2.5 years. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so, other than that stage of the individual time trial at the Tour de France. Now, let's get into today's stage, because there's going to be action. And of course, there's going to be drama because I'm never wrong. I got the crystal ball up here on the Butterfly Effect. That's why I do these videos. Now, when the camera comes on, we got about 65, 70 kilometers to go. We see 8 riders in the front group up there. They got about a 3-minute gap. We go back to the Peloton. Who's on the front? Melissa Bike, of course. They got their whole team on the front, and their co-leaders are up there, of course. Jonas Vingegaard and Matteo Jorgensen wearing the race leader's yellow jersey, first time in his career. Yes, he won Paris-Nice last year, but he never got to put it on during the stage, so this is a good moment for the American. As he's riding there with his teammates on the front, we go back up to that front group, and we start looking in there, and we see that it's Luknesen there from Uno X. That's 1 minute and 26 seconds down on the general classification. That means there's a little bit of threat back there to Melissa Bike when the gap's up at 3 minutes. So they're riding some tempo. We get in 52 kilometers to go. We see attack by Ineos. That's Josh Tarling, and that's Tobias Foss. Tobias Foss is a threat on the general classification at 39 seconds back from the leader there of Jorgensen of Melissa Bike. Okay, I like this move from Ineos. This is a fantastic move because they have nothing to risk. Tobias Foss most likely could win today's stage, could possibly take the race leader's yellow jersey, and it puts pressure on Melissa Bike. But it's not really giving up any possible chance of winning Paris-Nice. Does cause Melissa Bike to ride hard, and maybe they lose the jersey today there to Tobias Foss, But we all know Tobias Foss is not going to win Paris-Nice. Yes, he went top 10 at the Giro d'Italia a few years back, but that's been a long time since we've seen Tobias Foss in general classification, so he's taking advantage of being close on the GC right now. This is a fantastic move. Those guys start going full gas. They're dropping the peloton. We get into about 50 kilometers to go. We see the break up front start getting cold, and they start putting their rain jackets on. Same thing's happening back in the peloton, you can be sure. We hit 45 kilometers to go, and all of a sudden the official motorcycle's neutralizing the whole race and calming everyone down and bringing them to a standstill. This means all the riders are going to go back to their cars and they're going to go into their rain bag. Their rain bag is the most important equipment you can bring to a bike race. Spare gloves, spare rain jackets, spare goggles, warm jerseys. I've gone back there where I've traded jerseys off at the Tour de France on the Champs-Élysées, the last stage before we got into the Champs. I've had to change jerseys back there with my rain bag. I've gone back to my rain bag and I've changed my cycling shoes when they've broke. I've gone back there and grabbed more rain jackets than I could possibly remember, and I've handed out more rain jackets to my teammates than I could possibly remember, and I have more gloves back there than I could possibly count because I carry a ton of gloves in my rain bag when I was professional. That's what you're watching the riders do at the back of the boot of the car right there when the hoods lift up and you see their Total Energy riders all over the back. Now they're changing up, they're getting warm again, and then you see the hot tea right there, thermos, set up so that they can get some warm water and tea and sugar into the body and start trying to recover because they're going to have a magnificent finish here to stage 4. Once that's happening, we see Jonas Vingegaard, he's changing into team car. You can be sure in the team car they left the heater on, Jonas Vingegaard's getting warm, putting some leg warmers on, and then what are the officials going to do? Well, it started hailing and the road was getting crazy dangerous, so they're going to go neutral all the way down the descent. Once they go down the descent, we see the AG2R car there that crashed and we see the bumper missing. That's got to be a Soigneur car because there's no number on the back window there showing that it's part of the caravan, and there's no bikes on the roof rack either, so most likely this is a Soigneur's vehicle that crashed earlier in the race. Peloton's going straight by those guys and they come down to about 28 kilometers to go and everything's neutralized. Okay, we start finally getting into where the race is getting ready to start. We see the official drop his arm down. The riders take off. That was kind of funny. They dropped his arm. I mean, come on. Everyone knows it's time to go. Just blow the whistle or just say go. And then you see his stopwatch there. He's going to let those guys go back out to 2 minutes and 25 seconds. This is a hard moment on the riders after 45 minutes of freezing coming down the descent and a neutral stop. So it's always hard to get your legs going again. But remember, some of these guys have put some dry, warm clothes on. Some of them are wearing too much clothes, though, even though they're dry or possibly dry at this moment. But either way, you know the legs are hurting because that's why you see the breakaway all stretched out a little bit. Now, the next riders to go off, of course, are going to be the 3 chasers back there from Ineos. Josh Tarling and Tobias Foss. That's a threat on general classification. They take off, then we see the peloton going. Once the peloton going, we start seeing some knuckleheads coming into play right now because it's Movistar on the front. They're not going to be the only knuckleheads, though. Movistar is drilling on the front, and then Mads Pedersen and Niels Palet is up there pulling with Mads Pedersen and Movistar. These guys are knuckleheads. There's a threat on the general classification up there in Tobias Foss, 39 seconds down on GC. It's time for Visma Lease Bike to start pulling this back at 2 minutes and 25 seconds. There's no reason for other teams to be on the front. And if we bring it all the way up to day 1 before this race even started, we know from the team list roster that Visma Lease Bike haven't come with a stacked climbing team. And I already told you there's 6 climbs in today's stage 4, and it's a summit finish with a category 1 at 6.7 kilometers long at over 7%. So why are you guys riding the front? Okay, maybe they want to win the stage, but you should be here to win general classification. Put Visma Lease Bike under the sword. Well, Mads Pedersen and Niels Palet up there putting someone on their sword as it's getting difficult and when little bumps with category 3s and category 2 climbs and then twisty descents where they're drilling it back there and the peloton's blown up in pieces, and Visma Lease Bike have 2 guys near the front. I'll call that Jorgensen and Perstrand. Can't be 100% as Perstrand, but I believe that's the only one they got up there. And then when we start looking further back, we see it's Jonas Vingegaard near the back of the group, but he's wearing the black kit, but you can spot him out with the red helmet and the white stripe down the helmet. So you know they have at least 3, and Mads Pedersen, Niels Palet are driving it like crazy. We go back up to the original break. What's happening up there? Luknison took off right away with 26 kilometers to go coming into the sprint points competition. Now he's going solo, but he doesn't have much of a gap on the group behind. We come into 15 kilometers to go, thereabouts, maybe I'll call it 16, and we see that it's Ben Swift up there from Ineos that finally got the cue to drop out of this front group and go back and help his teammates that are chasing like crazy. So Josh Tarling's going to get a little bit of help from Ben Swift back there, but they're kind of off camera. Now, once we go back up front, once we come into about 17 kilometers to go, now we start seeing that Luknesson's getting wrapped up from the break back there. And then we come into 11 kilometers to go, and the three Ineos riders with Ben Swift and Josh Tarling pulling like crazy on the front are catching the front breakaway riders. Gap's down to under 40 seconds right now. We go back to the Peloton. Mads Pedersen, Niels Palet, and some Movistar help are driving it like crazy back there, and the Peloton is blown up into pieces. But we see that it's Jorgensen, and we know that it's Jonas Vingegaard in this front group. Perstrand ended up getting dropped with 14 kilometers to go. So as far as I know at this moment, hard to tell in the rain, but there's two Visma Lease bike riders with no teammates. Now, we'll go up front, and we see the first riders there as Ben Swift pulls off just before the final climb starts here. We'll call it about 7.5 kilometers to go. Ben Swift pulls off. Josh Tarling's got the front. Josh Tarling's flying into this left bend to start this last climb proper. As he is, he's blowing up this group right away from kilometer 0 on this last climb with 6.7 kilometers to go. We go back to the Peloton. Oh man, it's blowing up back there with Mads Pedersen and Niels Palet on the front driving it like crazy. Mads Pedersen is blowing this Peloton of GC favorites, or wannabe GC favorites at this moment here at Paris-Nice, and he's blowing them off the back of the group as he's driving it full gas on the front. When Niels Palet is starting to pull back the front group there of Josh Tarling after he blew, doing the work there for Tobias Foss. Now Tobias Foss is going solo. Tobias Foss is hanging out there with about a 35-second gap, and Niels Palet's just getting ready to blow at that same point in time that he was catching the remnants of the breakaways guys left off of the wheel from Tobias Foss. That means Mads Pedersen has to go to work. Mads Pedersen is drilling it through the switchbacks. I mean, the classic specialist is putting on a show here on stage 4 of Paris-Nice, much like we have saw in Dauphiné in years past. With Mads Pedersen on the frames, blowing it down to about 20-25 riders there, but we still see the GC favorite guys are all intact. If I rewind the film all the way to the beginning, one important GC guy I left off, Santiago Buitrago, crashed early in the stage when the cameras came on proper, so he is missing at this moment as Mads Pedersen's going wacko crazy on the front. With the speed from Mads Pedersen, he's holding the gap steady there to Tobias Foss. We start going in about 4.2 kilometers to go. This is when the GC guys must feel the pace start to drop from Mads Pedersen as he's wrapped up all the breakaway guys but Tobias Foss, and we start seeing the first attack of Lipovitz. Lipovitz from Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe throws in his attack, and Jorgensen in the race leader's splendid yellow jersey is following the first attack. After Lipovitz gets brought back, the next attack is Pablo Castrillo from Movistar. This was their whole plan right now. Is Pablo Castrillo is on the front. He can't get a gap, but he's still pulling all the GC guys. I don't know what he's thinking right now. This is not the Vuelta a España. You are not in a break. You are riding with some of the best climbers in the world, but Pablo Castrillo, he's not listening to me, so he's driving on the front till finally he pulls over. Once he pulls over, we see the next attack from Lipovitz. Lipovitz throws in his second attack, and Jorgensen's all over this attack too. Again, this group gets brought back, and then the next attack's coming from Lenny Martinez. Lenny Martinez from Bahrain Victorious. His teammate Santiago Buitrago crashed out, but we see Jonas Vingegaard following Lenny Martinez directly, and then that move's getting brought back too. We see the next attack, it's Almeida. Almeida, the Portuguese rider from UAE Team Emirates, now has put on a show yet in yesterday's team time trial. Now he's putting on a show here as we're under 4 kilometers to go. I'll call it 3 with the attack here from Almeida, and Jonas Vingegaard is following Almeida. Now we'll fast forward it up, and there's a couple more attacks I'm missing, but we'll go into 2.5 kilometers to go. Jorgensen's on the front of the Peloton. We see Lipovitz try to pass on the left side. He gets stuck in the mud, and his bike comes out a little crooked to the right, crossing over the front wheel there of the American in the race leader's yellow jersey. Well, Jorgensen holds it up, so does Lipovitz. Lipovitz puts out his hand there to calm everything down and apologize to the race GC favorites here at Paris-Nice, while Tobias Foss is still up the road, but the time is getting narrower and narrower as we get under 2.5 kilometers to go. The next attack we're going to see is going to be Lenny Martinez at 2.3 kilometers to go, and Jonas is all over this move. Lenny Martinez knows he's got a threat back there, and he can get attacked at any moment from Jonas Vingegaard. And that attack happens quite quickly as Jonas Vingegaard throws down on the pedals. We know right now that Selfless right now and Jonas Vingegaard, I haven't seen it since that stage of the Tour de France individual time trial, guys, and now the drama started. Jonas Vingegaard throws an attack, but guess what? He can't drop the Bahrain Victorious rider Lenny Martinez. They're closing up the gap up there to Tobias Foss. Then we see Lenny Martinez get back on the front and start pulling as the gap gets closer and closer. Shortly after the pulling from Lenny Martinez, when we look back at the Peloton, UAE Team Emirates, Almeida's on the front. He's doing what he can to do damage control right now. Then we see the attack again from Jonas Vingegaard. With this next attack, it brings us up to about 2.1 kilometers to go, and we see Tobias Foss getting wrapped up. Jonas Vingegaard throws in another acceleration. Lenny Martinez is struggling to hold the wheel. Then finally he pops, and we see Jonas Vingegaard go on the attack here, going solo with under 2 kilometers to go. Is he going to race for his teammate here on stage 4? No, he's not. There's drama all over the place. He was never going to race for his teammates. They're co-leaders. Now he's going solo. We look back. Almeida's doing everything he can, bringing everybody back. And then we start seeing attacks back there by Lipovets. With the attack of Lipovets, we see that Jorgensen is still following close by, but we look at Brandon McNulty. He's struggling back there. We start coming into 1 kilometer go. Jonas Vingegaard still holding the gap, but now it's only 7 seconds. This is not the classic Jonas Vingegaard that we're used to seeing with his 100% Tour de France form, or he'd be gone and out of sight. Tadej Pogacar would already have 20 or 30 seconds right now, but Jonas Vingegaard's only got 7 seconds. Now we look back, it's about 800 meters to go. Almeida's throwing in another attack. With this attack, he's stretching it out. Look at the American back there, Brandon McNulty, his teammate from UAE team members. As we look up front, Almeida's got 3 guys on his wheel. We'll call it 4, maybe 5 total. Brandon McNulty's closing and scratching to get back onto the back wheel. He closes to the back wheel. We start coming into about 300, 400 meters to go. Brandon McNulty's throwing in acceleration on the right side there for UAE team members, but now we're coming into 300 meters to go. Almeida's throwing in his own attack on the left. We look up front from Jonas Vingegaard. You look back, you can see right there Almeida's trying to come up here. He's going with everything he's got on the pedals, but it's hard to tell. As the American Brandon McNulty's not going to be able to hold the front, but Almeida's doing everything he can. We come around the tight bend with 200 meters to go. We see that it's Jonas Vingegaard in the lead. As he comes out, the picture's hard to tell, but you can see just behind the motorcycle, Almeida's getting hot on the heels. He's getting closer. Once we get 150 meters, he's a bit closer, and everyone's struggling in the back. We see Skilmos is still there. Lipovets is still there. Jorgensen's holding on to the race leader's yellow jersey, but scratching to do it. Then we come into about 100 meters to go. Almeida's hot on the heels there of Jonas Vingegaard. They come around the bend with 75 meters to go. Jonas Vingegaard starting to blow big time as it's getting super steep here on stage 4. And then Almeida punches it around the right side. As he's punching it, they both look over. They see each other. Then Almeida accelerates a little bit further. Jonas Vingegaard's looking backwards now, so you know he's done trying to fight for the win. Almeida knows he's got the win as he looks back over the shoulder, sits up, celebrates, arms wide, then a fist punch up in the air as he wins the stage here for UAE team members. Jonas Vingegaard crosses the line 1 second back from the race winner there of Almeida. Third on the stage is going to be Skilmos, Lidl-Trek, and he's got on his wheel Lenny Martinez. Once we see that happen and they cross the line, we got to wait another second or two, and then we see Florian Lipovets and Jorgensen at 6 seconds. So the American in the race leader's yellow jersey at this moment has lost the race leader's yellow jersey because up front in second place with the time bonus of 6 seconds, that means Jonas Vingegaard is the new race leader for Visma Lease Bike. Were they co-leaders at yesterday? Was there drama on today's stage? Of course there was. After the stage, when you start seeing the conversation between Jonas Vingegaard and Jorgensen, you see Jonas Vingegaard's really dejected by not winning today's race. Well, you can tell both riders suffered big time. Almeida is very happy about today's race. He said you lose sometimes as a team, talking about the team time trial yesterday, and you win sometimes as a team, talking about today's stage 4. But when it's all said and done, he's only about 35, 40 seconds back on the general classification, so he is still in a hunt to win Paris-Nice because Jonas Vingegaard's form is not 100%, as you clearly saw in today's stage 4. Now, did it affect their legs like we see the American rider Jorgensen said in his interview, where he said the stop, and he said the first stop when they neutralized it to begin with, then they rolled down from 45 kilometers to 28 kilometers to go. He didn't know they were going, so they were doing a little bit of chasing in the neutral section. Then he says his legs were just a little bit blocked up for the whole rest of the stage. He said he felt better when they were racing and it started hailing and it was cold than he did after the start. That could explain the drop in form, but right now that could explain the drop in form for everybody. So it's a full-on fight fest right here for the race leader's yellow jersey coming up in the next stages of Paris-Nice. So make sure you like and subscribe. And to all the comments that said that Jonas Vingegaard was a selfless rider, I haven't seen it yet, except for one stage of the Tour de France. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for stage 5 of Paris-Nice real soon.